Welcome, everybody. Welcome to episode number 93 of Fraternity Foodie. I am your host, Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. Of course, we call these episodes Fraternity Foodie because there is nothing like great food to bring people together. Today, we are going to learn all about the Circle of Sisterhood Foundation with their executive director and founder, Ginny Carroll. Ginny is also a consultant for inGiNuity, where she does retreats, planning, skill development, and also keynotes for businesses and students. She also served at Alpha Xi Delta Women's Fraternity for over 14 years in various roles, including executive director from 1994 through 2000. We are so honored to have you on the show. So let's welcome Ginny Carroll.
Happy to be here. Yay.
Yay. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. I have so much to learn, and I really just want to share all of this information with our listeners all over the country. Let's start with a little bit of background. I know that you chose Western Kentucky for your undergraduate experience. So I was wondering, why did you choose Western Kentucky? What was special there?
Well, okay, so my parents had 9 children. And I was a 7th born. So by the time I was interested in college or where I was going to go to college. They already had 3 other siblings in college. So state school was the only option, right? And I was living in Louisville, Kentucky at the time. And I stepped on Western's campus and loved it. I fell in love with the campus itself because it's beautiful. The size of the university. I just had a really good experience there. It was, 14,000 students when I was there. So it wasn't a University of Kentucky and it wasn't a University of Louisville. It was just the right size for me. And I just fell in love with the campus. So boom.
Sounds like the perfect match. I went to a state school and I was the oldest of 3. So I'm not sure. I have to go talk to my parents and figure out what happened there. They also wanted to save money.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And you decided to join Alpha Xi Delta. So what was special about the women in that chapter that made this sorority the right choice for you?
Well, when I look back at my experience at Western, I was a GDI. I had no interest in sorority at all. And now look at me, right? In my first year on campus. And really started to get an interest in the sororities toward my sophomore year. And then in my sophomore year, I went through COB, which is not formal recruitment, but continuous open, which is more casual recruitment, and just met the Alpha Xi Deltas. And I had known a few of them beforehand and just loved them. And it was actually a smaller chapter on campus, so struggled with that. And I love underdogs. And so I decided to choose the underdog, and it provided me with tremendous leadership opportunities. I was chapter president. Now I did that for 2 years and I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. Like, don't try that at home. But that, ultimately led to, because of the leadership opportunities I had on campus and in my sorority, led to me being hired as a consultant by my sorority when I graduated. So, and then it just kept going from there. So, but I loved the experience, and we had a really, really tight sisterhood, which I think oftentimes when chapters struggle, they have a tighter sisterhood because they're really trying to overcome things together and overcome challenges. So that was the case for me. So
yeah,
loved
I'm
it.
so glad you had that experience. Clearly it's worked out very well for you. So that's fantastic. So let's talk about that, your dedication to the fraternity. I think it's incredible because for over 14 years, you worked for headquarters in roles that focused on communications, chapter services, and management. And then you served as executive director for a period of 6 years. So what was that experience like for you? And talk to us a little bit more about what you're most proud of.
Well, I'm a staunch advocate of the sorority experience because I know what it's done for me, right? Mm-hmm. And so I truly believe that it helps the young woman evolve in the company of other women. And there's real power in that. And so when I was hired as a consultant and traveled the country, I was on like 34 different campuses in 9 months. I loved that job. I loved Alpha Xi Delta. So I loved the thought that I could travel the country and help other chapters. I also loved that I was being paid. So as a professional sorority woman, right? And all those dues came back. And so I just really loved that experience. And then opportunities became available on staff. And Mike, nonprofit. In nonprofits, you have a tendency to do a little bit of everything, right?
Right.
And so, came on staff. I had a degree in graphic communications and came on staff as the first professional editor of the magazine, and loved that because that's what I went to school for. And, then moved into chapter services, or moved into communications, chapter services extension, and then ultimately became the executive director. So I really grew up there professionally. And in a great community. I mean, we all know the interfraternal community and the support system in the interfraternal community, and being able to build that network. Now, I literally grew up there as a professional, so I needed to move on at some point. And that's why after 15 years there, I moved on. But it really provided me the opportunity because I had built a huge network of people that I had been involved in over that period of time. And that led me to inGiNuity, which is my consulting business. And so without that experience at Alpha Zeta Delta and the network that I built because of that experience at Alpha Zeta Delta and the numerous different roles, I mean, I was literally in every phase of nonprofit management, which helped me in my nonprofit management consulting business, right?
Sure.
So it was ideal. I loved it there.
Wow. Talk about a great testimonial for working at your headquarters. If anybody out there is thinking about this experience, look at what happened to Ginny. I mean, she got experience in all kinds of areas that she probably never dreamed of. And clearly it has led to some tremendous things and making this world a better place. Yes. So, wow, what a testimonial that is. All right, so let's talk a little bit about inGiNuity. So for the last 20 years, I know you've been hosting retreats, keynotes, other learning strategies at leadership conferences and conventions. I see you there all the time, and the students love you. So I'm curious, talk to us a little bit about what topics you're passionate about, and talk to us about what skills the participants are going to walk away with.
Well, my consulting work has kind of evolved. So I've done a lot of things. Right now, my biggest joy is working with boards. I spend a lot of time working with nonprofit boards, and I really like that work. And I do some strategic planning. But one of my favorite quotes in the world is, "Man's mind stretched by a new idea never regains its original dimension," right? And so that to me was the gist of my business, was introducing people to things they already knew. We all know people skills, we understand interpersonal stuff, we understand intrapersonal stuff, but being able to introduce people to it in a different way, or to give them the tools to be better leaders or better at what they're doing, was what it was all about for me. And so probably my favorite topics over the years to talk about and educate about would be generational synergy. So understanding the generations and how they interact together. And then also emotional intelligence. Huge fan of emotional intelligence and understanding emotional intelligence. So if you're a young professional, understanding all the concepts and dynamics of emotional intelligence only helps you be better at every way as a professional. So that was a lot of the stuff that I loved doing. And I learned, all that experience that I had in the sorority, and then my experience becoming a consultant, because what I did in between is I went to work for a company that ultimately couldn't pay me. Well, that was a challenge. So I had to leave that. Another favorite quote, leap and the net will appear.
That's right.
And so that's when I started inGiNuity, when I didn't have a job. And it was just go for it. You might as well just go for it. And it took some time to build it up. It was tough at first. Circle of Sisterhood is another example of leap and the net will appear.
Yeah.
And so just really enjoy that work and really enjoy helping people see not only their potential, but the potential of their business and the potential of their professionalism. Just really enjoyed it. So, and I've had inGiNuity for almost over 20 years now. So.
Wow, that's just incredible. Yeah, I believe in that as well. Just making that leap and then the net will appear. I've done that numerous times. But if you have a vision and you know exactly what it is that you're after, build it.
Well, and part of it for me was, all the work at Alpha Zeta Delta helped me find my genetic encoding, right? As Jim Collins would say, what is it that you are genetically encoded to do? What is it that you're doing that you have so much passion about it, that you love doing it, it's what you should be doing, and somebody's going to pay you to do it? That is when you are happy. And I can say honestly, being a sorority woman has provided a track for me to get to those places, to find work that I was truly passionate about. And because I've never really had a job I've hated, which I'm lucky. I'm really lucky in that way. So I just, as long as you take advantage of your sorority or fraternity membership, right? You can't just, it's not just a 4-year deal. Like you really have to take advantage of the opportunities of getting involved, of moving beyond your chapter, of being an involved alum, and then you create an even bigger network that can help you accomplish what you want to accomplish.
I love it. You and I are very much alike in so many different ways. So let's talk about this Circle of Sisterhood Foundation. You're the executive director and founder. You're committed to uplifting girls and women around the world from poverty and oppression. I'm curious, how did this organization start?
I read a book, like literally. I read a book that changed my perspective on the world. And I know it's happened to everyone, I'm sure, that you read a book. And I'm not talking like Harry Potter. I'm talking about a book that changed your perspective on the world. And so I literally read the book, Half the Sky, Turning Oppression into Opportunity for Women Around the World in 2009. And the Circle of Sisterhood was launched within a year.
Wow.
So that book is about the brutality inflicted upon women around the world. I mean, just cruelty beyond measure. And here I am, a college-educated woman, privileged, sitting in the United States of America, surrounded by privilege, reading about how women are being treated around the world and thinking, holy crap, you have got to do something. And so the more I read and the more I researched, bottom line is education is going to diminish most of the global issues women are addressing, right? And we know that education will eradicate poverty. So I'm one of the most educated women in the world. Mike, you're one of the most educated men in the world. Not even 7% of the world has a college degree. Mm-hmm. So if you think about our community for a minute, the interfraternal community, we're all college educated. Sure. We all have college degrees. Some of us have 2, some of us have 3. Well, not even 7% of the world has college education. So we are the right community. Why wouldn't we be removing barriers to education? I mean, literally the founders of the women's fraternities and sororities did that for them. Like if our founders hadn't been on the college campus trying to get the right to a higher degree, we wouldn't be here, right? And so literally education is the answer to, well, it will eradicate poverty and the answer to a lot of the issues. And so that I honed in there because I knew if 2/3 of illiterate adults in the world are women and 70% of out of school youth in the world are girls. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is? I think, I don't have the data, but it's easier to oppress the uneducated.
Right.
So we keep girls and women out of school, keep them illiterate, keep them from being educated, can't push back, can't stand up for themselves. So those are the 3 stats I live in, Mike, is the 70% out of school youth in the world are girls, 2/3 of illiterate adults are women, and not even 7% of the world has a college degree. Wow. That just married sorority to a cause that I really believed no sorority woman could not want to be engaged in. So I have yet to meet a sorority woman who said, no, I don't want to help girls go to school. And I have yet to meet a fraternity man that has said that either, right? Mm-hmm. And so our Brothers for Sisters program is building because the men see it as part of a solution to our global issues as well, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I read a book that made me mad.
and you're changing the world in a positive way. I mean, I love every bit of this story, and the way that you frame it up makes me just think about how privileged we all are, sitting here with college degrees, multiple college degrees, and we have to do better. I think, the oath that we took to our organizations really dictates to us that we have to do this for others, right?
Well, we're a hugely altruistic community of people. Mm-hmm. I mean, philanthropy, we know how to give back. We know how to lift people up. We know how to fundraise. I mean, that's who we are. It's in our DNA. It's part of the reason a lot of people join fraternities and sororities, right? Mm-hmm. And so it just, now I look back and it's like, duh, why wouldn't sorority women be helping girls go to school?
Right, it seems obvious.
And our whole mission is about the circle of influence. So it's sorority women, but the people that care about them too, and care about the causes they care about. And that's why I think our Brothers for Sisters program is starting to pick up steam. Mm-hmm. Our objective is to get anybody who's ever worn Greek letters involved. Like that is the ultimate goal. But it's just because we are one of the most educated communities of people in the world.
Yeah, this is just
Absolutely.
absolutely amazing. I need to know more because you're now engaged on over 260 campus sorority communities. You
Mhm.
funded 34 school builds. This is incredible work. So I'm just curious, how have you been able to spread the word so successfully and make such an incredible impact in 26 countries?
Yeah. Um, every day I wake up and I'm like, I can't believe all this has happened. I mean, it's just really stunning for me. And I, as the executive director, we have 2 part-time staff members, and so we do a lot of work with a few people. We have a huge volunteer corps that is tremendous, and I kind of get stuck in the minutia. But then every time I write a check to a grantee, or think about, like, have conversations with you like this, and think, or with undergraduates. I have lots of conversations with undergraduates and alums. Um, it's not a hard sell, right? We should be the community of people removing barriers to education. I mean, because we're the most educated. So and I think, between you and me, the degree of separation between Greeks is 2 degrees, not 6, which is average, right? So everybody's connected to everybody. And
Sure.
so I think that makes it really easy for us to engage people. Also, we've got members sitting on college campuses, and we can get to them, right? We can talk to them through student conferences. We can, there's lots of ways to get to those students to get them engaged. And I'm telling you what, in the very beginning, we thought it was going to be alums. We thought it would be a sorority alums that got involved in this and really drove it home and really like, in my mind, if there's 5 million living sorority alumni and every one of them gave $100 once in their lifetime, we could change girls' education forever.
Amazing.
Now, that's easier said than done.
Right.
But we went to a couple regional conferences and introduced the concept of what we were doing to undergraduate sorority women. And then it became like chasing a cheetah. I mean, they picked it up and ran with it and just went to town about, yes, we should be doing this, because I think the younger generations are global minded.
Yes.
I mean, there are no boundaries anymore for them. They want to live other places in the world. They want to give back in other places in the world. I mean, it's just phenomenal what's happening. And I'm not saying alums aren't. We have more than 4,000 alumni donors, so alumni donors. But it just keeps rolling, and it just keeps getting, because we're not going to stop until every girl has the right to go to school, because every girl should have the right to go to school. So we're not going to stop until that happens. And we have a lot of work to do.
Wow.
I feel like I'm rambling. I could talk about this forever. So
no, this is just an incredible story. I'm just in awe of just how big this has become. And it does seem so obvious. I mean, we should have been doing this 50 years ago, right?
Right.
I mean, oh my goodness, this is just incredible. All right, so let's assume that we have sorority women who are listening to this interview right now, and they're saying, you know what, Ginny, I want to get involved. And it seems like the first step would be to start this Circle of Sisterhood committee that you talk about within the chapter. So what steps do we need to take in order to start a new committee in our chapter?
Yes. Well, we have individual alumni that are involved. We have campus communities that are involved, and then we also have chapters that are involved. Predominantly, it's a campus community that becomes involved. And most often it's a Panhellenic that takes it on, but there are several of our campus partners, is what we call them, where it's the entire Greek system that is taken on. So it's all the councils that are involved, including the IFC, which is the men's group. So,
Sure.
And that to me is just that is special. And no discredit to the Panhellenics, because they're doing a great job too, but it's really the community that takes it on and tries to engage their community, and then the broader university community and what they're doing and why they're doing it. And so anyone who's interested in getting involved, we have a website loaded with resources. Not only is it loaded with resources about how to get involved, so we have starter kits on our website, but resources about how to fundraise and ways to fundraise. And there's also a component of our website is our impact area, where you can actually go see where the schools have been constructed and where all the grants have occurred across the world. And really kind of an interactive area, which we're proud of because it was just redesigned. So go play. But we have, and whoever is interested, whether it's a chapter or an individual or we're always looking for volunteers, or a campus that wants to get involved, send an email to info@circleofsisterhood.org and we will respond immediately. to either have a conversation or send resources or whatever it is you need.
That's absolutely fantastic. I love hearing about the other councils, by the way, jumping in and helping out. That would be my favorite part, is seeing an IFC or, some other council jump in and say, you know what, this is important. We should be committing all of our resources to this. Fantastic.
Well, and we have a handful of campuses where the IFC has adopted the Circle of Sisterhood along with the rest of the community. University of Iowa, all the Greeks together are fundraising for the Circle of Sisterhood. They do it together. It might be through Greek Week, where they're doing an activity, fundraising activity during Greek Week, but that's everybody, every council, the multicultural Greeks, NPHC groups, NPC groups, IFC, all coming together. That, to me, to help girls go to school. I mean, there is such power in that.
Wow, that is just tremendous. And I think we have to leverage the talents in all of these different councils as well. So maybe Panhellenic does one thing really well, but if we can reach out to NPHC, if we can reach out to the IFC, there are tools that we need in all of the councils. So it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So let's talk about this fundraising component, because obviously this is important. What suggestions or strategies do you have to share that works the best based on your experience in fundraising for chapters?
Well, I think okay. So most of our work, a good percentage of our granting, so we're a foundation. So all the donations that come to the Circle of Sisterhood go into a big pot, and then organizations working on the ground all over the world apply to us for money. So we grant money to organizations working all over the world, removing barriers no matter what the barrier is to education. So it's not just about little girls' butts and seats in classrooms. It's about child marriage. It's about sex trafficking. It's about puberty. It's about anything that becomes a barrier to education that will keep her from the classroom. So we're trying to remove those things, right? And so what most people don't understand, that is when you're trying to help in the developing world, a little bit of money goes a long way, right? We also help domestically. So there are organizations we're working with here in the United States, whether it's college mentoring or whether it's helping women get high school equivalency training. I mean, all kinds of things we're doing domestically as well. But as far as, here's what it looks like in the developing world. So this equates to what a donation would do. $53 would literally send a girl to school with everything she needs for an entire year.
Wow.
That includes supplies, books, tuition, a school uniform, and school lunch every day for the entire academic year.
Wow.
As a sorority woman in college, I spent that on a sweatshirt.
Yeah. Or
today we spend it on one shoe, not two, one. And so if I break it down further, $3.30 feeds a girl in the developing world equates to feeding a girl in the developing world school lunch for an entire academic year. So not $3.30 a day, $3.30 for the entire year. We spend that on coffee.
Right.
And so any amount of money that's being raised goes a long way in some parts of the world to get, I mean, $13 in too many parts of the world, school's not free. Like primary, secondary education, high school here in this country is predominantly free unless you choose a private school, right? Not in other parts of the world. And so $13 to get to school when your parents may make $1 a week, right, is a lot of burden for a family. And so just the money goes a long way to help remove the barrier, whatever the barrier is, to education.
Wow, you just made a fan. I'm going to go on the website and I'm going to donate personally, because when you frame it up, you're like, of course I'll help. Are you kidding me?
I love that.
That is so great. All right, so talk to us about the future. You just celebrated your 10th anniversary and your day of giving. So I'm curious, from the founder, tell us what's next for Circle of Sisterhood.
I don't know. I mean, we're doing such good work. I mean, we have to continue to remove the barriers. And so we're going to do whatever we can to continue, whatever they look like, and they're different. So we have a lot of organizations that we work with. In our School Build program, we work with a implementing partner, and they're as much about women's equity and education as we are. And so that's why we chose them, because what they do, their build methodology is not only they're hiring people in country, which is hugely important, but there's a relationship between the Ministry of Education of the country, the village, and then Circle of Sisterhood and our partner Build On. And so they make sure we're standing beside people. We're not showing people how to do anything. We're standing beside them as they create a structure conducive to learning for generations, right? We happen to provide the money for the supplies to do that. That village has to provide the land and the man and woman hours to get it done. And so, but we also, for every school, 50% of the students by covenant need to be in the school too. So the communities where we're funding school construction, there are boys in the school, but girls need to be in the school too. That's part of the deal. I think I just got lost by your question. What was your question?
No, I was just wondering what the future looks like. What's next for the Circle of Sisterhood?
We'll continue to do that work to try to build the structures conducive to learning, because that's a huge barrier. When you don't have a structure, like when your kids are going to school under trees, that is just not conducive to them actually learning. And so the structures will still do that program. We hope to grow our grants program in significant ways. Last year, or this past spring, we actually granted $100,000 in the spring, which is the highest in the middle of a pandemic, which is the highest amount of money we've ever granted in a grant round. And so we just want to continue to build that. And we're going to start doing some educational work around social justice and education justice and gender justice. So there's a lot on the plate and a lot that we're looking forward to. And we're just gonna keep working until every girl is in school.
I am so proud of you. That this is just incredible work. And I've been educated today. I know all of our listeners have been educated today. So this has done amazing work. You might not think so, but I'm telling you that this interview is going to reach the masses, and you're going to do more incredible work going forward. I know that's going to happen. Now, of course, we have to talk about food, because I love really good food here at Fraternity Foodie. And so if I'm in your area, if I'm in your neck of the woods in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, I need a recommendation from you. Where should I be going to get a great meal in the Charlotte area?
Oh my gosh, there's so much good food in Charlotte, but I would tell you, I haven't even been here 3 years yet, and a good almost year has been a pandemic. So
I understand.
But I live in a little town west of Charlotte called Belmont. So it's just 30 minutes from downtown, but it's kind of like a suburb, a small town of Charlotte, and just 10,000 people. It's just the cutest little town. And we have great restaurants. So I always, when people come visit me, so that's going to answer your question. If you were coming to visit me, Mike,
yes,
I would take you to Nellie's Southern Kitchen.
Okay.
In Belmont, North Carolina, the downtown of my town, where it is actually a restaurant owned by the parents of the Jonas Brothers.
Oh, wow.
Interestingly enough, because their grandmother lived in Belmont, North Carolina her entire life. Exceptional Southern food. So it is a true taste of Southern food, because if you're going to come to Charlotte, you need Southern food, right? And so just a wonderful menu. So if you're ever in the area, go to Nellie's Southern Kitchen in Belmont.
Sounds absolutely delightful. And I will definitely take you up on that the next time that I'm in Belmont, North Carolina.
Grits and fried chicken and chicken and waffles and chicken and dumplings.
Listen, living in Nashville, I have to tell you, I'm a little spoiled because I get a lot of that. But this sounds delicious, and I'm willing to try. Absolutely. This is great. All right. So let's assume we have students that are listening. Let's assume we have campus administrators that are listening. And now you've piqued their interest. Now they want to learn more about Circle of Sisterhood. They want to send donations. Like I want to send donations as soon as this interview is over. Maybe they want to get involved. Where is the best place for them to go and to connect with you?
You can email me at Ginny, Ginny, at circleofsister.org. Or you can email info@circleofsister.org. You get started on our website where you'll learn lots about what we're doing. But I'm happy to answer anybody's questions. So shoot me an email and we'll get you engaged.
Wow, this has been absolutely fantastic. That's circleofsisterhood.org. Go check it out. The website, I was on it. There's so many resources there. It's all free, and it's all just fantastic to learn about all the different ways that you can help. And I totally agree. I mean, here we are sitting totally privileged, working with college students every single day. And this is just a home run, the work that you do. So I'm proud of you. I can't wait to go and donate after this interview. I'm going to do that right now. And
brother for sisters.
I am. I'm brothers for sisters. Count me in. I mean, this is just fantastic work. I'm just happy that we had this opportunity today for me to learn, for you to educate me about the great stuff that you're doing. So thank you for that. And I'm your biggest fan. What can I say?
All right. I love it. Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Of course, it's my pleasure. And for all of our listeners, if you like this conversation, please like it. Please share it with other members in your organization, in your council, maybe a campus administrator. If you want to get involved, please share this interview. We want to make sure that as many people as possible get to hear Ginny today. So thank you so much. Thank you to our listeners, and we'll see you on another episode of Fraternity Foodie. Bye for now.